We know that now workers are feeling more empowered to make demands, taking matters at their own hands. We've seen over 200 plus walkouts, sick leaves, big companies like an Amazon, Instacart. Just last week, we know that Ford workers in Michigan walked out as soon as they found out a worker tested positive for COVID-19. So with that said, we know that workers have the power to be able to make these demands, both to the employer, government agencies. We know the federal agencies at this moment, OSHA in particular, the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, who has responsibility to ensure health and safety working conditions for all workers across the country, has minimized their enforcement. COVID-19 has killed more workers in this short period of this pandemic, yet not one citation has been given to an employer because of COVID-19. That is a huge problem. Now is the time to have more enforcement for our government agencies. Former chief of OSHA, Mr. David Michaels, had assured us that OSHA has the teeth to be able to have the authority to put emergency standards in place. We're seeing less of this. CDC guidelines are too weak. We're more and more seeing voluntary programs as the states are starting to reopen. Voluntary programs are not the language we need to hear. Right now, it's mandatory programs, as we're seeing more and more workers are impacted.
Let me just underscore, make sure I understood something that you just said. In terms of the federal, there is a part of the federal government that is responsible for making sure that people work in a safe environment. OSHA, the Occupational Safety and Health Administration. Out of all the people who have been infected on the job and all of the people who have been infected on the job who have died, OSHA has yet to issue a single citation to any workplace in the entire country for COVID-19 safety issues?
That's right. That's right. And as you can see, and we're trying our best to document it. It's astonishing. And again, it's a problem with enforcement. We know that particularly this pandemic has revealed longstanding inequities in our country. We're all focused on it now, but for far too long, we know that the low pay and dangerous conditions faced by millions of workers has particularly impacted Black and Brown communities. Black and Brown communities have the highest mortality rates around COVID-19. We know that Latino workers make up 18% of the working population, and 35% of slaughterhouse workers are Latinos. African Americans make 12%, but 34% of those are correctional officers. These are our essential workers. These are the folks that are having to go to work on a daily basis to protect their livelihood. We are putting a gun at these workers, essentially. If they stay home, they're not making enough of a living wage. They can't provide for their families, pay rent. If they go home, there's not enough protections, and we're not ensuring the safety protocols to ensure that they do not get infected. It's really, really amplified a problem that we've had across this country in terms of the inequities. There's no law that says Black and Brown workers have to get the most dangerous jobs. That's discrimination, pure and simple, and it has to change.